Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Caught on the Mic. If I'm not anything else, I'm diverse. You know, I have a music background. I talk to a lot of bands. I work a lot in the fitness and MMA space, but you also will notice that I talk to a lot of people involved with the paranormal and a lot of folks in the horror community. Yes, that's horror as in horror movie. I'm a Midwesterner. I have to be careful of how I say that word because, you know, I don't want the wrong connotation to come out. Joining me on the podcast today are two friends. They have their own show called Beyond the Body Count. Jennifer Nangle, Charles Chudabala. Welcome to the show, guys.
Yay!
Yay!
Thank you for having us.
Oh, I've been wanting to make this happen for some time. I don't know, just to be fully transparent and honest, I don't know how exactly I came about to following you guys and us connecting. I don't know if it was from having Sean Whalen and some of those folks on my show or some of the people in the paranormal or horror community, but I'm glad we're connected and I'm glad you guys are here.
Oh, well, thank you. What an honor.
Everything happens for a reason.
So let's talk a little bit about how you two know each other and a little bit about your origin story, just to kind of set the table for things. Like, you two are best friends.
Yes.
You do this Beyond the Body Count podcast, but you guys have worked together on other projects in the past.
And still are.
Go one at a time and introduce yourselves, and let's talk about your origin stories.
Rock, paper, scissors, friend, who goes first? No, I'm just kidding.
You.
Whoever wants to go first. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Jennifer Nangle. My heart is I am an actress, but I'm also a horror hostess, which of course we got to say that the proper way or else people think that we're something else. I totally agree with Mike on that. And I grew up in a small town called Danvers, which is right next to Salem in Massachusetts. So I was always around eerie, crazy, kooky witch stuff my whole life, but I fell in love with acting when I was 10. And when I graduated high school, I went to college and I studied musical theater at Niagara University in Niagara Falls, New York. And the goal was to go to New York and become this famous Broadway star. But as you can see, that didn't happen. I moved out to LA in 2004. I trained in the Meisner technique acting out here, and then I started auditioning. And several years later, I met my bestie.
Oh, that was
How was that? Was that good? Was that a good summary?
that was so good. Yes. Yes. Yeah. And wow. Okay. So I'll say I grew up in LA. I am. I'll take it back before I met my bestie. Yeah. Born and raised in LA. And I actually went into psychology. I have a background in marriage and family therapy, and I actually practiced for a number of years out in the field. My passion was always to be an actor and always to be making stories, telling stories. Done plays in high school and even in college. But you know, as life would have it, you know, you're pursuing your dreams and an adult says, hey, go get a real job, go do something more stable. So I immediately happened to be taking a psychology course, which was my next elective, never looked back, just dove straight in. But after like 12 years of doing that, you know, just the bug comes back and it says, hey, let's start kind of, you know, exploring this little seedling over here. Let's start planting seeds. And, you know, what would happen if you dabbled, you know? So I actually went on a leave of absence for my job. And during that leave of absence, I submitted myself for a Toyota commercial and booked it like by myself within a
Lucky
week.
man. Lucky.
Wow.
No,
That like never happens, by the way.
Oh, you know, well, the secret was like I didn't know what I was doing. You know, sometimes like ignorance is bliss. You're not overthinking it. You know, it's just like now we've got too many things. You know, all the things. But yeah, I never looked back. And then I said, hey, look, if I'm gonna do this, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be the actor that I want to be. And I'm going to pursue my love, which is horror. I'm going to be an actor that does nothing but horror movies. And I landed one horror movie after another horror movie. And it is the most wonderful, biggest, smallest world ever is the indie horror community. And so it was only a matter of time till Jennifer Nangle and our circles would matriculate. And I met my bestie on a film set in Wisconsin in a lake house, that's a whole other story. And but I did ask her a question, like, when we get back from Wisconsin back to LA, like will we literally go, like, we're literally gonna have lunch, we're literally gonna hang out, because people say that in LA and it never happens. It's like, right, let's go get coffee. Let's, like, and it never happens. Well, it happened. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have a friend.
A friend for life.
It's like, Mom, I made a friend. And we've been inseparable ever since, making tons and tons of projects together. And we'll get into all of that. But yeah.
That's awesome. I think it's understated, really understated, how much courage it takes to pursue creative endeavors, because society is so beholden to the idea of following a normal path, if you will. Very similar to the both of you. I was outstanding actor in high school. I got several scholarships to several different universities, but I didn't pursue any of them. One scholarship I had to audition for, and I beat everybody out for, but I didn't pursue it because I'm a dick.
What?
I guess.
Why didn't you pursue?
So funny story is, really, I was serving two different masters. So it's like there was this acting bug, and I was also grew up in a very musical household, and I was singing in rock bands at the time. And so I ended up being in the music business for like 15 years, and it never materialized for me the way that I wanted it to. But very much like both of you, I kind of lived that creative endeavor on my own terms and kind of shunned the people that said, hey, you need to be doing something a little bit more conventional. The thing is, the outcome is I have a ton of stories that conventional people will never be
100.
able to tell.
Yep. We do too.
So let's get into those. So you guys just recently launched your show Beyond the Body Count, and I loved your initial promo where you guys were talking about how no guests and all of that stuff. It was so lively. And I was like, you guys are just kind of throwing the rule book out the window, and you're just like inviting people to hang out with you guys and get to know you on a personal level. So how did you guys land on that concept for a show?
Well, we've been talking about it for a while. There's this, we do a thing called Bestie Day, like, we just spend a day, we just hang out all the time. And if we're not doing a formal Bestie Day, we're either just, throughout the years planning projects, we're in development for the next project, we're in post-production for the next project, but in between, we have, in my opinion, some of the most deep conversations, some of the most transformational conversations, most creative, inspiring. I'm always finding myself saying, we should be recording this. Why aren't we recording this? And eventually, like years later, I think you asked me, friend, if I wanted to start the podcast with you. Yeah. And I just said, yes, let's do it.
Yeah. And Charles is a complete, utter Virgo. Like, he has to wait until like every T is crossed, every I is dotted, everything has to have its spot and has to be perfect. And I'm that typical airy fairy, like Pisces. I'm the dreamer. I'm the like, no, we don't have to do anything that way. Let's just do it. So we definitely complement one another very well, because he takes over like the recording and the editing, and I show up and I'm just like, hey, let's just talk about whatever went on this week. Like, who cares? No guests, no guidelines, whatever. Let's just do it. And it seems to just work with us.
I think it's understated that creative OCD can be a real thing.
Absolutely.
Like, guilty party here. But Jen, since this is is this your first outing as a podcaster?
No.
Oh, so you've tried several shows before as well?
I teamed up with a guy years ago. We're talking like over 10 years ago.
Okay.
And it was always like a scheduling thing for me. Like he wanted to do the same day every week, same time slot. And I was like, I work a job and I'm an actress. And so to
Right.
give you that specific time every week is really, really hard for me. So I think I only lasted about 5 episodes and then I dwindled away.
So what is it that each of you get from the podcasting experience and the connection created in the podcasting experience that maybe doesn't always fill your cup in some of your other creative endeavors?
Wow.
Oh,
Whoa.
I can answer that question. I can go. I know for me, I feel like my online presence for a while has been a certain way. My horror host character, she's very strong and mean and poised and evil, you know? And so a lot of people kind of take that idea of who I am. And really, I'm just like a super goofy, like really loves to laugh type person. So I feel with the podcast, not only am I able to show my real true personality, show who I am, but I'm also to talk about a lot of real personal things that I've gone through in the industry, in life that people wouldn't normally think because, you know, for a while, social media was always like, oh, just be positive. Always post twice a day and be positive. That's what people are going to look for. Well, we've kind of taken a turn where people are getting real. They're really talking about the problems that they're going through, the depression that they're feeling, all these kind of things. And I was like, hey, wait, I mean, I can share in that too. And I can also help somebody or, you know, turn somebody's frown upside down that day. So that's what I feel I get from doing the podcast.
Yeah, I can totally get on board with that. I just had a band on recently and we were talking about social media now versus the MySpace days.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm dropping a MySpace quote. But the fact that authenticity matters so much more now, especially in this day and age, especially with the temperature of the socio-political climate being as it is, that people representing themselves as their true authentic self is more important now than ever, and that it's making common people heroes to where there's not this whole cult of personality where somebody has to portray something that they're not. Does that make sense?
Agreed. And 100%. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that fills my cup as well. What about you, Charles?
I changed my answer 3 times during this because it had to be the perfect answer. But I'd have to say that is actually the answer is through my friendship with Jen, my bestie. You know, the Virgo balance of it doesn't have to be perfect. Just showing up each week, putting something out, doing something natural has been the balance for me that actually feeds all of the things now creatively in the right direction. It's the superpower that I didn't know I needed to flip on, which is it's never going to be perfect. Just go do it, go play, be free. The crossing my T's, dotting my I's, I think I've kind of mastered that in a lot of areas because just my OCDness won't let me not do it. But it's the other piece of just go have fun, just go press play, just get started. And Jen has seen me cycle through this in so many different endeavors. Where I've stopped something or I've started something, planned something for months, and then never did it because it just wasn't ready. And the podcast, I think, fills up that bucket, you know, of that. I don't know, like maybe you want to call it like a muscle memory of like a non-Virgo muscle memory type of throwing things to the wall and just having fun. because
Yeah.
because it's messy, it's clunky. There's no because when we're together, it's just We just did an episode that I'm actually editing right now or putting together right now, where it's just us interviewing each other and getting deep with our questions, and it was one of those where we didn't even know how to end the episode. The
Amazing. Amazing.
terror.
How scary is
But
that?
leaning into your background with psychology, do you feel that creating an environment like this, even if it's not the same exact time routine every week, but forcing yourself into routine conversations with certain people is its own form of therapy? Like where you end up learning more about yourself by just listening to somebody else.
1,000%. It's very healing. I mean, you're holding space for somebody else, but they're also holding space for you. And I have another podcast. It's a spiritual podcast where I interview healers and light workers, and I'm there to learn from them. But also there is this other kind of entity that kind of forms from the conversation, the unexpected happy accident, where like, whoa, we didn't know we'd be talking about that today, but maybe that's the message that I needed to hear, that somebody else needed to hear. And it kind of is this perfect unfolding that you can't plan for. You can only plan and prepare enough to create the space, and then you let it go out the window. And when I was a therapist, therapy was like one of the biggest trust exercises ever, because I could prepare for every client, and know my stuff. But what was, trusting the process is everything. And it's kind of like letting the car drive at that point. You've got your other passenger, and now the car knows where it's going to go at that point, and you can't tell it where it's going to go. You have to just kind of be along for the ride. And art is a lot like that too. It
Yes.
really is. And Jen and I can tell. I mean, Jen, you could speak to this too. That, like the things that we've created together and productions that we've made, and then it just kind of takes on a life of its own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, let's talk about some of that. Some of the stuff that you guys have done creatively together. Like talk about some of your favorite projects that you guys have worked on together outside of this current show. And and where can people find them?
All right. Well, I'll go first. I'll just throw the Malvolia Queen of Screams out there. I had originally had this idea of a horror host character that was going to be a lead in a found footage feature film. And in the process of writing the script, I was like, well, I want to make her real. I want to make, people already know who she is. Maybe we can make her like bigger than she is. And so then once this film is released, like, it'll already have an audience. People will already be interested. And then we can just end it there. And I got some friends together and we started shooting this web series, which we had no map as to where we were going to go and what the outcome was going to be or whatever. And I released in a very iconic picture on January 1st of 2017. And introducing this character, and I thought I was going to get hate. I thought people were going to be like, you're copying Elvira, all this kind of stuff. And in fact, and like to my surprise too, I got so much love and so much like positive feedback, and how everybody noticed that I looked like Morticia Addams, and how I had the essence of Vampira, which was what I was going afterwards. And so it was really, really cool that, we started to release some episodes and people started liking it, that I was like, oh, we can't stop now. We have to keep going. And so we will be beginning shooting on season 8 in the next couple of months. But
wow.
Yeah, but Charles, you can find us on YouTube. But Charles was part of like the first or second episode that we even shot.
The first episode of the series.
Yeah,
No,
because
of season 8.
No. Of the series, because I was using my
Yes.
friend's horror short films as like my hosting films that I could do. And Charles was one of the leads in one of the films that we were showcasing. And I thought it would be really cool to bring these characters in and have them interact with Malvolia as she was hosting these short films. So it was kind of like, you know, meta, I don't know, whatever. And so then Charles kind of got stuck with us because the couple of months later we did a Halloween special and he played himself, and here we are, season 8, and he's still playing himself.
That's
It's
awesome.
really fun, but yeah.
I just got so excited right now when you said season 8 because I love this series so much. And it's been like it's a snapshot in time every time we revisit it. Because I like where we were in our lives creatively, like even the people that were with us, like on some of the seasons and not some of the other seasons, people who've come back, throughout the years. Our growth, you could see it. Like you could see the right. I mean, Jen is the mastermind at the helm of all of it. And I'm a fan of Queen Malvolia. I'm also a fan of Jennifer Nangle. And so what's fun for me is it's like an out of body experience seeing Malvolia shapeshift and evolve, and her voice start to evolve, and as Jen's writing just gets more and more uh, uh, maybe I don't know biographical, or maybe you use a lot of your experiences sometimes in the writing too, and sometimes it's like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to just shoot that, let me write it and we'll figure it out. And I've been in awe of seeing like what's she going to do next, even though I'm part of the world. It's or my character's part of the world, and I am playing like a heightened version of myself, or a different version of myself that also is one of her henchmen minions. But we're all kind of like demons too. But even I, out of body, feel like, oh my God, what's she gonna do next? Oh my God, she did that. Like just as surprised in the character as what's unfolding, because the characters have come such a long way, and it's truly an anthology in a lot of ways. These characters, they exist. You've created such a universe, friend. I got to give you your flowers here on the podcast too, because the fan base that you've developed, just everyone just kind of tuning in to see what happens next, and the world building and the characters are just so well written, and it just gets bigger and better, and I'm always excited to return. Always excited. Let's produce more.
Circling back to something we touched on earlier, in the whole authenticity thing with social media, is I think there's a big difference now with creative endeavors about creating a culture around your creative endeavors, so it does become must view or must return to, second watch, third watch kind of thing. And I've noticed that there's been an uptick in that particular with like independent horror releases, films, characters and such. Like I had Stephen Cognetti from Hell House LLC on, the writer director of that, and like I absolutely love that series. And if it wasn't for like a random rainy Saturday in October, would have never seen it. And now I'm like absolutely obsessed, because I'm finding even myself as a horror fan, like I will just take, I don't want like using the term risk, but I will take risks on things that are not necessarily in the commercial stratosphere. And I'm always pleasantly surprised. I'm never let down. Is that something you guys are finding as independent horror creators yourselves, that fan base is growing bigger and more rabid as time progresses?
Oh yeah, totally. And especially like in the indie world. For me, I'll be completely honest with you. Like I obviously like I love horror. I appreciate it. This is not at all. I'm just gonna be honest. Because and this is not to disparage this studio name at all in any way, shape, or form, but I went to the theater and I went to go see a movie, and I I thought it was maybe going to be an A24 movie or maybe a Neon movie, and the the credit roll started happening. You start seeing the studio logo with its animation, and it's Blumhouse. And I'm not gonna lie, for a minute I was like, oh, hmm, this could go either way. I did not feel that way before. I did not feel that way about Blumhouse before, but it's now you know, it could go either way. That's not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. It's just evolved in such a way now where you don't know necessarily kind of like which voice you're gonna get. Uh, but in the indie world, so like I know you had Sean Whalen on the podcast, I think, recently.
Yeah, yeah.
I shot a movie with him called Crust about a sock monster that kind of
Right.
comes to life, which was so well done. I enjoyed every minute on that production. But those are like, to me, these indie gems that are like made by filmmakers, with the resources they have, getting those pennies, grabbing those coins, wherever you can get them to kind of fund your story that you want to tell. And they've got charm, they've got heart, and they also got horror too. And those are fun. Whereas like these tentpole films, it can be a mixed bag. But I don't know if I'm straying away from the question, but I'm finding myself kind of almost reignited with searching for these indie things. Jen just recommended me another one the other day, Magpie, as well, and so like I'm kind of in the process of watching that one now too.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I don't think it's limited to the horror genre, because you can say the same thing with like comic book movies or action films or anything. Like there comes a point where something reaches the stratosphere of popularity where the homogenization of it sets in, and you do get that like your Blumhouse moment where it's a crapshoot and you like, okay, it's either going to be shock value for the sake of shock value, or it's going to be like all the best parts I saw in the trailer. There's no in between, and so I think this is where the indie space actually like really differentiates itself wholeheartedly.
I do want to piggyback on what Charles was initially saying, because I work at a tanning salon out here in Los Angeles, and so we get a whole wide crowd of people. And I had an actor, really well-known actor on a really well-known series. I knew him before, and then I knew him during, and I had noticed that he was starting to do the convention world. And so I started asking him questions about the convention world. And he said, you know what? There's nobody like horror fans. Horror fans are the ultimate, dedicated, most loyal people ever. And Charles and I have been dabbling in the convention circuit over the past 2 years. And I have to say that even though we're not on like this huge, massive zombie show, we still have people that show up and show up and show up and know us and follow us and just really support us to the umpteenth degree. And it is absolutely amazing and sometimes shocking, when you're like, oh my gosh, like I did a convention in Tampa, and I had this one gentleman waiting for me because I was talking to somebody else and I thought they were actually together and they weren't. And so he was waiting and waiting and waiting. And then, when he finally got to talk to me, I just was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you had to wait. And he's like, no, I've been wanting to talk to you. And like, he knew everything about me and I had no idea who this person was. And to me, that was mind blowing that somebody I didn't know knew me and was so loyal and just so wonderful. And now we're pals. So it's crazy how these things kind of work and how this horror world is. Yeah.
There's a fun question I like to pose to people, and that is, which is the more toxic fan base, Star Wars fans, comic book fans, or WWE fans. And you notice I don't ever have to mention horror fans
Correct.
in that. So
yeah, they are dedicated.
right, absolutely. So if you were to each define your most mind-blowing experience that you've had since rolling the dice on a creative-based career, what would that be?
Oh God. Mind-blowing experience. Are we talking about like good mind-blowing?
Well, yeah, let's try and keep it optimistic and positive.
Okay, so I have sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I'll book things and I don't know what they are because they'll keep the project pretty secret.
Sure.
And so I did something that I still can't talk about. And when I showed up on that set, and they brought me to the wardrobe trailer, and they started fitting me for my wardrobe, I realized I was probably not on planet Earth anymore.
Oh yeah. I know which one he's talking.
I realized that I was probably. I know. Jenna's she's the one. She gets the calls. Okay, you can't say anything. I signed an NDA.
I still don't know though. I don't know what he's talking about.
And it was just like 100 extras and huge cranes, and I was like, holy shit! Can I?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, please do.
I was like, holy shit! I think is that what's gonna happen? And sure enough, that's where I was, and I was right there with the lead, and that's where they wanted me to be and perform as their like adopted son. And okay, let's go. So I'll say, without saying the project, that's one of the things that I think I that never gets old or boring is even projects that that you're going to shoot still can surprise you.
Yeah.
And if you go into each like creative project with that again, that open mind of like, I'm here to experience and play, let me be surprised today, and then it will hopefully surprise you in a good way. That's the magic of this, of this industry, I guess, in this film world and the commercial world, is that there are these really cool projects happening right now. And we are having a massive like Los Angeles exodus right now, with productions, less and less productions, fewer and fewer productions happening in Hollywood or LA, and they're kind of migrating over to Texas or or to Atlanta, and it's again, like, filmmakers, creatives work so hard, and they deserve to have their stories told, and better if they can get some tax incentive on that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's definitely beneficial. But yeah, that's what I would say my most mind-blowing thing as of late.
I was just gonna say, was this recent, and is this project gonna see the light of day?
It will. Yeah.
Okay, good. So we will be able to talk about it in the future.
We will be able to talk about it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, how about you, Jen? What's been your most mind-blowing experience that you've had since rolling the dice in your creative career?
I'm so sorry because I always tell this story all the time, but I think...
Don't apologize. Tell it again.
I think like the most mind-blowing, but just also wonderful experience was to be cast opposite Vernon Wells. And I have my bestie to thank for that tremendously. But everybody kept saying Vernon Wells. And I'm like, who's Vernon Wells? Like, I don't know who this is. And everybody was like, what is Bennett and Mad Max and and I'm like, yeah, I still don't know who you guys are talking about. And so I am like hardcore craft actress. I love going back to the technique. I love just really working with an actor who is prepared, who's ready to go, who's ready to have fun. And initially I kind of thought maybe Vernon Wells would be like a little bit of a diva. I mean, he's this veteran actor. So obviously it was like, Jen's got to be on her good behavior. Jen has to make sure all of her lines are perfect and everything like that. And then Vernon can show up and just be him because, he's epic. But what happened was, during the day, we ended up having so much fun with one another. And there was a point in time where I was getting some direction from the director, and I was being pulled in like 3 different directions, because they first were going to do some special effects makeup on me, and then I got pulled from the chair because they had to grab another scene, and I'm being thrown around, and I'm like, wait, what are we doing? What is it? What is it? And so I'm getting the direction, I'm not taking it on because I'm so preoccupied with everything. But all I did was I set my intention on Vernon. Vernon sent his intention on me, and we just played the scene. And it was such a really fun moment to once again just work off of another actor, take in what he's giving me, and I give it back. And that just brings just joy to my heart. And so it was so great to have that fundamental, basic acting experience with somebody that's, been doing this for forever and didn't really have to give me that. And we did. So
yes, that's amazing. I love that. Absolutely love that. It's one of those things, and it's only really magnified itself for myself since doing this podcast. Is there's this line that says don't meet your heroes. And everybody that I've met as a result of the podcast or during all my time in the music industry, nobody's really disappointed me.
You're so lucky.
Now,
So
I'm not going to say I haven't had shitty moments with people. I've had a few, but by and large, like, I haven't had anything, overly terrible or overly horrible. So tell me why I'm lucky. Have you had a few?
Yes, but I don't know if I should say it on here. We'll have a private conversation after. I work in a tanning salon in Los Angeles.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
It's the hub. Your tanning salon is where they all go. Like, all of them.
They do. They do.
So, Charles, you were saying before we pressed record, you wanted to pick my brain about a recent guest that I had on. Patty. Yeah.
Patty Negri.
Yes. Fire away.
Oh my! Well, first of all, congrats.
Thank you.
Because that was so awesome. When I saw that you had her on your podcast, I'm like, okay, let me So she's the Good Witch, or we know her as the Good Witch. She's done paranormal, haunting shows. But I guess I just wanted to ask you what that was like, because she was dropping truth bombs after truth bombs, and she was talking about fear and horror and the things that scare you. But the way that she has a way of saying, I could say the exact same thing she's saying, but she does it in a way where suddenly she gets to it and you don't even know how she got there. But it was the perfect way of talking about facing your fears by going to the horror direction. I'm like, what? So I wanted to ask you how that was.
So it was, I will say that was phenomenal. Obviously, but it's weird because I feel it kind of falls in line with what the core values of my show is all about. And it's like, I can have somebody like Patty Negri on, or I can have somebody like a Brian Austin Green, or like maybe Ryan Key from Yellow Card, or somebody from here, there, everywhere. But for me, the most important thing about the podcasting world is developing that relationship and maintaining that relationship after the record button stops. So I do the same thing with every single guest. I will shoot the shit for 5, 10, 15 minutes before we press record to kind of set the table and be like, look, let's establish a rapport before we, actually start recording, because, by no means necessary do I want to create clickbait or quick clips to kind of put myself over. I sincerely like having people on the show that I want to maintain relationships with after the show is over. So it was like that with her as well. So her and I, we sat there, and before we even started recording, we talked about things like music and art and things that we were into. So it made that conversation really, with an easy to talk to person, a lot easier. And it does make it made me feel like I was in the presence of somebody that was able to communicate to higher powers, to see the great beyond. I will never claim to be a flat out believer. I'm always going to be an optimistic skeptic. I think you are an individual, but so is everybody else. Everybody has their own ideas of what faith and spirituality and those things are. But I believe 110% that there is more beyond this life, and that karma in specifically is real. So to have a conversation with somebody like that only fulfills that promise. Does that make sense?
Oh, 1000%.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And karma, like you said, kind of fulfills that and comes full circle. And I don't believe in accidents, and like attracts like, and there's,
Yes.
who we surround ourselves with, and people in our orbit, they're positioned there in such a perfect way for us to learn the lessons that we're going to learn. Sometimes we find ourselves making choices towards that positioning and kind of creating, and like our tribe, which is like a word that I use almost every other month. When Jen and I are even talking about our next projects, who we want to work with, who we want to hire, what we want to do. It's like our tribe is growing, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
It's a beautiful thing to bring on all these like-minded energies, people who are, also like at our level, but also beyond too. You know what I mean? People that can elevate us, and the people we can elevate. It's a beautiful thing. So
For sure.
I think your tribe says a lot about your vibe says a lot about your tribe.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I am all about reciprocal energy, for sure. For sure. And so let's kind of lean into that just for a second, and let's talk about the future. What are some projects in particular, and I'm going to kind of aim this at you, Jen. What are some projects in particular in the future that have you excited, even if it be beyond the body count or what have you? What are some things that you're kind of working on or getting you excited right now?
I can't talk about them.
Who gives a shit? Nobody listens to this show or watches it. I'm kidding.
You're like, no one listens to this show, but no, I mean, I can kind of skim around it. I have like some feature films that I am brainstorming on and starting to write on that I'm extremely, extremely excited about. I am working on season 8 of Malvolia, the Queen of Screams. And I also talked with a director of photography who I've been dying to work with. And he's
Awesome.
actually like open and interested, which is great, for the Halloween special. Yeah, I think that's all I could talk about.
Well, aside from the one you can't talk about, Charles, anything else that's kind of wet in your beak that you're excited about?
I'm excited to get cooking on producing again with my bestie on season 8 of Malvolia, the Queen of Screams. What I can talk about is we both of us are in a movie that will be coming out this summer.
Awesome.
And it's one of the best movies we've ever made, in my opinion. It's called Transmission, and it'll be out everywhere. It's got distribution.
Awesome.
It's very, very A24. I saw a screening of it 3 years ago before it got picked up, and I walked out of there saying, like, this is like, oh my God, Jen's performance in this is so good. And I've told her about it so many times.
I haven't seen it.
She hasn't seen the movie because she couldn't make it to the screening that year. But you're so good in it, and the character that you play is an alternate version of an alternate version of an alternate version that exists in this alternate universe. The editing deserves an award in this movie. It's very sci-fi. It's very meta. It's very A24, and so I'm glad it got picked up. It also won Cult Film of the Year at Horror Fest. Is it Horror Fest? No, Fright Fest in the UK. The big
Oh, wow.
one.
Awesome.
So yeah, it played at Fright Fest in the UK, and then it won. So I'm really excited about that film coming out. And then just on my other podcast, I'm just excited growing the Uncaged Mindset podcast too. Just getting more Excited for the new guests that are going to be coming in this year, more spiritual healers,
Awesome.
as well as just building up all of my things in the spiritual space too.
Awesome.
I will also add too that we're really inching towards body count being distributed.
Whoa! How did we forget that? That's literally
I know you said transmission, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. We could talk about body count.
body count.
Body Count is a horror anthology based around Malvolio, the Queen of Screams, and her crew. Each segment is female villain driven, which I play every female villain in each segment, and it's won some awards. It's gotten out there. It's been screened, but Distro's a little testy when it comes to certain things. So we're now working with Horror Fix to help us out and get us right in the good graces and perfect ways so that we can start really going after distribution.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So real quick hit here. What is each of your favorite subgenre of horror?
Slasher.
Also
destination horror. I love destination horror. Okay, I did too. Go ahead, friend.
Destination. I would say supernatural. Occult.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna use a lot more words, but I'm like, no, this encapsulates what I want to say. Occult.
Occult.
Speaking of occult, my wife has been watching. She just started from scratch. She started Handmaid's Tale from episode 1, season 1. I watched most of the first season with her, and then I started having dreams that were kind of bordering on nightmares. I watch bloody slasher, like frightening, like my favorite subgenre is found footage, but I watch these things that scare the living shit out of me, but nothing has given me more anxiety than the first season of Handmaid's Tale, and now she's on to season 2. She's like, are you going to watch this with me? I'm like, hell no. Like, this is mirroring reality too close for comfort for me. Like,
it very
I'm
much
out.
is. Yeah. That could be
I'm
our
out.
life. Mm-hmm.
Like, it actually generated some nasty ass dreams, like where I'm like, oh man, nope, I'm out. I can't watch this anymore. Driving to work the next day, like angry and full of anxiety. I'm like, I can't watch it anymore.
But let's watch some people kill each other.
Yeah, exactly.
See, that makes me want to watch it. I've never seen it.
You've never seen Handmaid's Tale?
Never.
Oh my god.
Never.
It is incredible. It's so good.
That first season, it's just unnerving because it is so well done. So well done.
Acting is absolutely incredible. It's like real life too. So just be careful.
Yeah, that's the real scary part of
The
it.
Invisible Man, I saw that actress because I didn't know when I went to see
Elizabeth Moss.
Oh yes, I love The Invisible Man, the Blumhouse. Oh my, I thought it was incredible. It was like a masterpiece to me, and also part of what I loved about it was I didn't know who the actress was. This usually gets me in a movie, right? When they're like an unknown or you don't recognize.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it puts me in it even more. And then I started telling everyone that they're like, she's on a show. I'm like, what?
She's been in a lot of shows, friend.
Yeah, but I was the same way. I was the same way with Florence Pugh the first time I saw Midsummer.
Oh, yeah.
Because she hadn't quite blown up yet, and I thought the fact that there was still a lot of anonymity with all of the actors in that movie made that movie more impactful.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
because you could sell, like it sells that they're maybe stranded, or you know what it is? I'm going to say it. It's the Blair Witch factor, right? It's
yes.
Right. Okay. Yes. Yeah. I mean, we know, if you know, you know, if you know, you know.
Yes. I was just talking with somebody about this just the other day. I was like, okay, if you were online in summer of 1999, you did not know whether the Blair Witch was real or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they did such a good job selling that at the start that it was like, you
Yeah.
know?
That was like the huge conversation when people would leave or you would talk with your friends. Like, do you think it's real? No, I think it's fake. Like, so many people are like, that's so fake. That's so fake. And I'm like, no, it's real. If he died, it's real. They're missing.
Yeah, isn't that like?
They can't find him.
And that was part of the fun, which is kind of scary. We're like,
Very
Yes.
what does that
scary.
say about us? We're like,
Yes.
this is the fun.
Right. That last shot of him in the corner is like burnt into as a core memory now. So, but
Talk about
crazy.
nightmares.
Mm.
Yep. Talk about nightmares.
So let's close this on an optimistic note. My favorite question to ask every single guest that does my show, and I ask absolutely everybody. It doesn't matter if they're a musician, if they're a professional fighter, or a paranormal expert, or horror icons.
You're lucky because we're
Indie horror
all of those.
icons.
All of them.
But what is your advice for making the world a better place tomorrow than what it is today?
Proceed without fear and inspire others to release their fear too.
Love it. That was pretty profound, Jen. Like the
I know. Now I got to follow that up, right?
Thank God for editing, because we're gonna make us all sound like Mensa geniuses by the time we're done.
You have permission to keep this in. This is like the real me.
I love it.
How about keep shining, keep smiling. Know that you can always count on your fellow man.
For sure. Because that's what friends are for.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you subscribe to Beyond the Body Count on YouTube. Give these two beautiful people a follow on social media. I will link them in the description of this episode on YouTube, on Instagram, or wherever you saw the promotion of this episode. I love this, guys. I hope we get to work together again in the future and again and again and again.
Famous last
Jen.
words. Yep.
Jennifer, Charles, thank you so much for doing the show. The world is a much better place with you in it.
Oh,
Oh, thanks,
thank
Mike.
you. Likewise, Mike. Thank you so much.
I'll send you that payment later for saying all that nice stuff about us.